You ever feel with your partner that no matter what you do, it's wrong, and whatever direction you step in, you're gonna get in trouble, or it's gonna just go bad?
What if it is wrong?
What if it's all bad? This is Marriage Problems. Shit's about to get real. Mended light. Okay, so we're gonna start off listening to a little comedy
clip.
A
little audio clip.
Little audio clip.
About 7 things that men do to upset women.
Alright, so we're going to listen, and you're going to watch us listening.
Because 7 is so much shorter than 1,000.
When I was a kid, we would watch things. We wouldn't watch people watch things, and now we're watching people listen to things. This is top-tier content. Well, it's us, so we're going to give you our best listening reactions.
This is going to be good.
7 things that men do to upset women. Number 1, lie. Number 2, be honest. Number 3, not talk. Number 4, talk too much. Number 5, not show emotions. Number 6, be too emotional.
No.
And number 7, breathe.
All right.
So now that we're clear on the 7 things.
Mm-hmm. Don't do any of those things.
Don't do any of those things.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like your partner wants you to tell the truth, and then you tell the truth, and then they're upset at
what
the truth
happens.
you told. Yeah.
What happens when they tell the truth, right? Are they in trouble?
Yeah, you can get punished for telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't have a lot of
incentive is there?
There's no motivation to be honest, but then if you lie, it's damaging to the relationship.
Yeah.
If you don't share what you're feeling, then your partner feels like cut off. But if you share too much of what you're feeling, they feel overwhelmed. And this is true in parenting. This is true in friendships. This is just human relationships.
Right.
We're all trying to navigate the minefield of each other's needs and not detonate anything.
Needs and wounds, right?
Yeah, especially wounds.
Because so often we'll trigger something, like we'll trigger a tender spot or we'll touch a wound unbeknownst to us, right? In the beginning of the relationship. And then you're like, oh wow, I had no idea that was a tender spot. And that's only if there's a conscious level of awareness there.
Yeah.
If there's not a conscious level of awareness, it's like, well, what's wrong with you? Why did you get so upset? I didn't do anything wrong.
So if you ever feel like you're damned if you do or damned if you don't, in therapy we call that a double bind. A double bind is an impossible situation. That's what it's called in therapy. In Star Trek, it's called the Kobayashi Maru. And it is a scenario where you just can't win. There is no winning. Right?
I didn't know that about Star Trek. I know you're shocked.
The test itself is a cheat, isn't it? I mean, you programmed it to be unwinnable.
Your argument precludes the possibility of a no-win scenario.
I don't believe in no-win scenarios.
So for you, the double bind was you would be patient and you try to be patient and constructive, but then I wouldn't get the message.
Yeah.
So then you would speak forcefully or even angrily, and then I would be hurt.
Yes.
And so it's like, no matter which way, it doesn't go well.
Right.
And for me, the double bind was Alicia wanted me to take the initiative more, right? To not have her handle and manage so many things. And for a lot of that was me being too insecure to do so. But there were areas where I was willing, and the double bind there was like, well, if you want me to take the initiative, then let me do it my way. Because you being a thinker, remember thinkers, how do thinkers show love?
Through evaluation. It's too bad no other personality type receives love that way.
Yeah. So you value
logic and efficiency.
And so she would ask me to do something and say, take the initiative, figure it out, make a decision, and make it happen. Mm-hmm. And then I wouldn't do it the most logical or efficient way. I would do it my way.
Which is like nails on a chalkboard.
Because for me, I would value, okay, well, what's the way that I'm not going to hate doing, right? Yeah. And so sometimes that's the easier way, or sometimes that's taking it nice and slow.
Well, yeah, or even like, because my brain starts evaluating things even before I do them, right? Mm-hmm. Which is not the way your brain works. So you would just set out to do it.
Yeah.
It's not that you weren't thinking about it, but it's not thinking about it.
It wasn't feedback loops.
Yeah.
Like I would think about it once.
Yeah.
I'd say, okay, how do I want to do this? That's how I want to do this. And I'd start to do it.
And then in your brain, you'd go somewhere
Somewhere
nice
happy, and I'd be doing whatever because I could already figure it out. Whereas you are somebody who's like, as you're doing it, you're assessing, is this the most efficient, effective way?
Yeah.
And so the issue is that you would try and help me by offering constructive feedback.
Yeah.
That was the intent.
Right.
How it felt was critical. How it felt was, I'm being told that the way I'm doing it is not good enough. And I'm really starting to get annoyed because
I think the solution would be that you just change your love language.
Just change.
Yeah, just change. So that you feel loved when I'm evaluating you and what you're doing.
Why didn't I think of that, right? But so the double bind for me is I could not do something and you'd be upset, or I could do it and you'd be annoyed with how I was doing it.
Yeah.
Why must you fail me so often?
Right? That was my double bind.
Well, and there's a self-awareness component for me because I would say, I don't know, 3 to 5 years into our marriage, I would know that I'm going to start evaluating you. Mm-hmm. And
you used a word when we were talking about this last night, nitpicking.
Yeah. Well, so what happens when I'm tired and I'm overwhelmed, that's when I get nitpicky.
Yeah.
And like I have to leave. I just cannot be there. If I'm tired and overwhelmed, like I will start picking apart everything that someone is doing that's not the right thing. Yeah. Right. But also
the right thing.
The right thing. In bunny ears quotation marks.
If you value logic and efficiency, then this is not the right way to do that.
Right.
Whereas I would value comfort or doing it in a way that's fun, and it might take me 3 hours instead of an hour, but I would enjoy it.
Or you might not have even necessarily thought it through. You're like, I'm just doing this thing, and in my mind, I'm thinking about the show I watched yesterday.
Yeah, well, and that is true also, like, you would say you haven't thought this through, and I'm like, yeah, I have. There's 5 steps, and I named the 5 steps, like, from A to B, and you'd be like, well, here's A.1 and A.2 and A.3 and B.1. Like, there's 20 steps, actually, and I'm, I didn't even,
Yeah. And so for me, like my mental state, like if I'm tired and overwhelmed, that was something to be aware of, right? That I just needed to like back off. But even when I wasn't tired or overwhelmed, so often I just needed to give you the space to do things the way you wanted to do them.
Yeah.
Right? Even if my way was faster or more efficient or so on and so forth, right? And so I would, when like Friday nights when our kids were little it was pizza night with Dad.
Pizza and a movie with Dad.
Yeah.
Every Friday night.
And I went out and did whatever I chose to do from 6 p.m. till whenever I chose to come home.
No questions asked.
No questions asked. No, but I realized I just needed to give you this space.
Yeah.
Right? On how to do things. And if feedback was needed, because at times feedback was, I would do it later when we had the time to talk, when it was like a calm environment, and explain like, here's why this is important to me. And like some of the feedback I gave to you during that time, it's like, well, I'm super happy that I could leave the house for a few hours and the children were still alive. It's also important that the kitchen gets clean. Yeah. Or when I get home, I really just have more work to do, and it really wasn't like free time. It was just a workload that got moved because when I came home, I had more work to do.
Well, and you would phrase it in very constructive ways like, hey, I have an idea for how that can be done more efficiently and quickly so you can have time to do other things. Would you like to hear it? And you said that you needed to pick your battles, right? Mm-hmm. If it wasn't something that was going to affect you directly, right, or that was going to inconvenience or make things harder for you, right, that you needed to just stand back and let me do it my way, even if it wasn't quote unquote the best way, because you didn't want to micromanage my life, and I definitely didn't want that. But what you said is if it wasn't going to affect you directly, right, but you knew it was going to drive you crazy to be present for it, you would just excuse yourself.
Yeah. I would invite myself to leave many times.
And then
many times. And I still do.
And then there were other things that you said to me. Yes, you do. And then there were other things that you said to me. You said, I know that you want to do this, right? You want to do this to show up as a partner, or you want to do this to help me out, or whatever it was. Yeah. You're like, if you're going to do it, I need you to do it a certain way, or just not do it. And then you let me choose. Like, okay, am I going to listen and accept the feedback, or am I going to say, okay, fine? Yeah. Because you doing part of the job and thinking it was the whole job Yeah.
actually was less helpful than if you had just not done it.
Yeah. And generally speaking, I think I would say in those calm moments, I would say, no, I want to learn how to do it better. There's lots of things around the house that I do better and more efficiently now. So thank you.
Oh, yay.
We're a great team.
So here's a little bit of raw and real, right?
Okay. Because we haven't gotten that yet.
Is I value comfort, which is why I would like figure out how I want to do something and then just go ahead and do it.
Well, and that's very true for dreamers and healers.
Yeah.
Like, that's something they share.
And so
And you're a dreamer healer.
But being and if I were with a dreamer or a healer,
Yeah.
we would have a very inefficient life of just happy la-di-da-ness. And I
Of
don't
happy bliss.
and I don't say la-di-da-ness as in like we're idiots. It's just like, yeah, no, that's fine. Like that's good
Yeah.
enough. Like it's not a big deal. And so now I'm much more self-aware and self-assessing because there has to be a balance. It's not just you saying what your needs and wants are. Mm-hmm. Like that has to go both ways. There was a need for you, I think, for me to have more of a voice because you had such a strong voice and you don't want to be a steamroller.
Right. And what people want out of marriage, like, I'm not here to say, like, what I want out of marriage is the right thing out of marriage, or what you want out of marriage.
No, it's just who you are, though.
Yeah, the right thing out of marriage. And so for me, like, that very much so looks like the partnership, right? And out of the two of us, you have the more stereotypical feminine personality type, and I have the more stereotypical masculine personality type.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the goer and the doer and the accomplisher, and you're like, let me love and serve and take care of people, right? And part of that dynamic is I was, always off to climb my next mountain, but I wanted to do that with a partner, and so I would ask.
And I'm like, I'll watch base camp. See you when you get back.
Yeah, and so I'd
Or
ask.
you could drag me up the mountain.
Yeah, kind of those two options.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I could leave you at the bottom of the mountain in the base camp, or I could drag you with me, and it's like neither of those things were what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to have the tinfoil dinner ready when you got back. Sheesh.
Oh, yeah.
So for you, getting out of that double bind involved speaking your wants and needs directly, patiently, calmly. But that would not have worked. It still would have been a double bind if I wasn't willing to hear that and then follow through and hear that and make adjustments. And it also required from me that I do the same thing for you.
Yeah.
And that I not rely on you to think things through for me because I'm with a thinker who, if things aren't done effectively or efficiently, is going to drive you crazy. And I don't want to drive you crazy, at least not like that. that I need to do more of that.
Well, and from my perspective, after talking and talking and talking about that and not making the difference, like, I just had to leave the open space there for you to fill. Instead of me constantly filling that space, like, I just had to back off.
Yeah.
And give you the room to fill it if that is what you wanted to do.
So how do you navigate double binds in your relationship? Depends on the relationship, but just like any partnership, it takes both people to create a new dynamic. Like, one person can get the ball rolling and one person can create a new dynamic for themselves, but if the other person doesn't follow suit, you ask yourself, okay, am I going to be content and happy with this not changing? Talking about the Gottmans and unsolvable problems, that there's a certain percentage of problems in every relationship that are unsolvable. Personality differences that are never going to be changed because it comes down to the core of who you are. Alicia made the joke that I just need to change my love language so that I feel loved when I'm being evaluated, right?
I think that's a perfect solution.
But the truth of that is, like, that would be an example of an unsolvable problem. Like, I probably may never feel that way, at least not consistently. But what we can do is say, okay, how can we meet in the middle? So instead of being annoyed or frustrated when you do that, I could see it as she's doing this because she cares, right? On your end, recognizing that this may not always be just what the doctor ordered for me. I may not always be happy with it, but that's okay as well. And with those unsolvable problems, you then ask yourself, is this a deal breaker or not? And if it's not, then that's every successful relationship requires a high degree of mutual tolerance. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to know more about navigating differences in relationships, especially based on broad personality differences, you'll want to check out this video, See Yourself to See Others. You can watch that right here. How do you get out of double bind situations in your relationships? What advice do you have? What experience do you have with this? Let us know in the comments below.
And remember to keep shining. We need your light.
Sparkle, twinkle, sparkle.